What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Welcome back to my public YouTube channel. What exactly is our topic for today's video? I'm going to be speaking about something that is very psychological in nature, just because that's what I'm really gravitating right now towards in my life. I've just been going deep with the psyche and the mind and things of that nature. So what we're going to be talking about is, where do the thoughts come from? Now, this is information that I have a lot of experience with. Being a professional occultist, obviously you have to deal very deeply with consciousness and the psyche itself. So I know there's a lot of people that have that question as to, where are my thoughts actually coming from? And what is the difference between my ego and my intuition? How do I tell them apart? And where are they coming from? Okay. So if this is information that you want to know a little bit more about, then you have one thing to do, and that is simply to stay tuned. All right, let me first start with introducing myself, just in case you don't know who I am. My name is Jeremiah Schwartz. I am a professional occultist. I am fully initiated in the entirety of the Kabbalistic tree. I'm studied when it comes to the 22 major arcana of the tarot deck, and I'm also studied when it comes to planetary energies in direct association with astrology. Now, with that being said, let's go into it. So, where do the thoughts come from? Very good question that I know a lot of you have. So it's very dynamic, and there's not just one place where thoughts come from, okay? Generally though, thoughts are coming from, or let's put it this way, thoughts are filtrated through the ego, okay? So we all have a brain, and this brain is programmed with an ego, which is a I am me state. It is a this is who I am, me, I. This is the program that exists within our brains. Now, there was at some point in the creation of our species, there was another type of being that literally designed the brain the way that it is right now. Literally, before the human species was created, there was another, what we would consider alien type of being or beings that programmed consciousness the exact way that it is right now inside of our brains. So the ego was divinely placed. It is not a bad thing. It was divinely placed because it gives a much stronger opportunity for evolutionary growth. Because you have a choice between the I am me, which then gives you an option to say, I'm going to choose this path, or I'm going to choose this path. You're no longer directly in touch with the natural flow of nature. You now have a self-decision. You have the birth of willpower, where you can say, I move in this direction because I am me, or I move in that direction because I am me. See what I'm saying? You have a choice now. And that's a part of the evolutionary process when it comes to the human being. So that's the first thing that we really want to understand before we go into, where do the thoughts come from? We want to understand the roots of the ego itself. And realizing that everyone has an ego. It's a part of all of our brains. Now, there are certain levels of spiritual initiation that you can obtain where you completely separate yourself from the ego and you no longer identify with it. But that comes with high levels of occult initiation and spiritual evolution. But that state does exist, and it's been talked about many times. Okay? So with that being said, the thoughts. The thoughts interact through the filter of the I am me state. They operate through that filter of the ego. And thoughts generally are being programmed into us, first and foremost, at an energetic root level that is oftentimes and most oftentimes coming from what we're allowing into our observation. So this is going to be things like TV, music, friends, work, your environment, your household, whatever it is that you are most often observing and surrounding yourself with. These are the things that are going to have the strongest influence on what your thoughts are producing, or how your ego is filtrating the energies in those environments to then turn them into thoughts. Let me say that one more time. Your ego is the filtration system based on the energies that you are surrounded by, that then turns those energies into what we call thoughts. So to be aware of your environment, to be aware of how you're spending your time and energy, to be aware of what you're doing and what you're watching, what you're taking in, is absolutely key to understand why you think the way that you think. All right? This is truly the root of your thoughts, whether you believe it or not. Now, get this. Even at points in your life where you don't even consciously remember those times, so oftentimes when you were a young child, oftentimes when you've been through really traumatic experiences in your life that you chose to not be conscious of or disassociate from, times when maybe you were using drugs or substances or medications that altered your memory, there are times that you don't remember but have happened that also are influencing your thought process because you still went through those experiences. So on a neurological level, on a psyche level, a psychic level, and a spiritual level, you do remember those times. Even though on a conscious level, you don't remember it. Consciously, you can't recall it. But they still exist within your memory bank, and they still affect your thoughts. And oftentimes these things are in the location of our consciousness in the subconscious portion. Most oftentimes these are always within the subconscious. So the thoughts are controlled by the environment. It's controlled by situations you are in and that you go through, and also by situations that you've been through that you have not processed, that then ended up within your subconscious mind. Meaning it's there, it still has an energetic impact on you, and you're just not fully aware of it yet. And you're not allowing yourself to process it yet, because most oftentimes there is a trauma that is there, and that trauma is uncomfortable to feel. So people like to keep those things locked within their subconscious, but that actually really has an impact on their thought process as well. So we can see that there is a multitude of different things that can have an influence on someone's thought process or on someone's thoughts in general. All right, now let's take it a step deeper. So we just talked about the thoughts, but guess what? We also have an intuition. And the intuition is what I call the voice of the soul. So although every single human being has a physical body, has fingers, has toes, has a nose, has a brain, they also have a soul and they have a spirit that is existing outside of the physical body, because the physical body came into being because the soul and the spirit first decided that it was going to incarnate and then inhabit the physical body. So the thoughts are connected to the human aspect with the physical body, the brain, and the intuition is connected to the soul and the spirit, which inhabits the physical body. So there is a major difference between thoughts and intuition. As I said, the intuition is the voice of the soul. This is the portion of your being that exists in a completely different dimension that we could consider higher than just this physical plane, that sees things from a much bigger perspective and truly understands the steps that it is that you need to take to get to your highest potential from an evolutionary place. All right? So, how do you tell the difference between the thoughts and the ego and then the intuition, the voice of the soul? Well, there are some little things that oftentimes can point you in the right direction to becoming aware of what is the ego and what is the intuition. Here it is. The ego likes to use certain types of thoughts, and it likes to tell you certain types of things that are based on fear. So when I say that, it will oftentimes tell you things like, do this because if you don't, this is what's going to happen. Hey, did you look at this? Did you know you're lacking here? Are you doing this because if you're not, you're going to lose, or you're going to lose something? Are you surviving as best as you can? And the ego likes to jump to these quick, impulsive conclusions about better survival. It likes to try to get your attention using fear tactics. This is a common way to identify the ego. Now, there is absolutely a time and a place for the ego. It plays its role. It's a part of the evolutionary process. And obviously, we need to survive. So it does have that role to help us better survive, but it can also be overly active if you're not in a balanced state of being, if you don't understand that your ego isn't always leading you in the right direction, meaning you don't understand your true nature. You don't understand you're also a soul and a spirit outside of the physical body. So the ego likes to be very quick. It likes to use fear to get you to make certain types of decisions and choices. It likes to say, what if? Or if you don't do this, then this will happen. And obviously, there's a lot of other things. It likes to be in control. It likes to know what's happening. It likes to have that sense of security from control. It likes to hold on to things that it already feels like it knows to feel comfortable, which once again puts it in more control. And that's oftentimes how you can recognize the ego. It's a very oftentimes a quick voice in your own consciousness, a quick voice that will speak and tell you these things along these parameters that I just discussed. Now, the voice of the soul, the intuition, what I've come to find is a lot more gentle in its communication. It's literally like a slow voice that communicates something very precisely. Oftentimes, when the soul speaks, there's a strong emotion behind it that comes with it, an energy and motion that also at the same time of speaking, it feels right. It feels good. Like rather than the ego saying something and then you feel fear with it, making you make an impulsive decision, the soul, when the soul says something, it's saying something with a feeling of alignment. There's like this feeling of satisfaction, like this is clearly the right decision. Like this resonates on all aspects and levels of my being. And as I said, the soul speaks in a slow manner, not saying that it's like, saying sentences very slowly, but it usually will say one thing like, yes, or that's right. This is what you should do. This is in your best interest. That is how the soul speaks, and the soul will never use fear tactics. It will never do that because the soul understands the higher principles. And the soul, if you're meant to go down a path that is not in your best interest, because that's the conscious decision that you're choosing to go down based on your free will. The soul will willingly allow you to make that decision. But the soul will also try to lead you in the right direction. It will tell you, yes, this is the right path. Yes. Oftentimes it's something very short and it's very soft in its communication and it feels good behind it. And once again, it will never use fear tactics. It will never tell you, if you don't do this, then you're going to whatever. If you don't make this decision, then you're going to end up in the, it's never going to do that. It's oftentimes just going to give you, yes, this is right. Do this. Listen to this. Here's what I want you to know. And it speaks in that way, as where the ego is once again using fear tactics in order to get you to make a decision. Okay. But once again, when we're talking about both of these states of consciousness, it's important to understand both of them and understand how both of them operate together, because there is a balance between the ego and the intuition and the soul. But once again, at the higher levels of spiritual self-development, you literally move more towards the soul than you do the ego. So there's actually that balance that needs to be achieved in the first place to make spiritual progression, then eventually separates and moves more towards the intuition, where you basically live your life from the intuitive space much more than you do from the egotistical space. So that balance over time as you evolve starts to shift more towards the soul. All right. And that's the state that I've achieved. And there's still work that needs to be done. Okay. I'm not, obviously a perfect, being, just like there is no perfect being on the planet, but I have achieved a state of consciousness where I absolutely identify much more with my soul and with my intuition than the average person. And that's why a lot of things in my life tend to work out all the time. That's why I literally live my life in a way where everything is a lesson and everything is designed to make me more powerful and make me more aware of my true self, rather than maybe the less conscious person who is still thinking things are unfair and why is this happening to me and how did I get in this situation, and generally not taking responsibility. All right, so this state of consciousness is absolutely possible to achieve, and I'm someone who's done it to a very large extent, but am obviously continuing to do it as I evolve. All right, and there are places of initiation on the Kabbalistic tree that also point to being able to make this really big jump in consciousness where you do separate from the ego to a strong degree. And I've discussed that in other videos, and that has to do with the crossing of the abyss. But we'll leave it there in that sense. So this is the difference between the thoughts, the ego, and the soul, and the spirits, the intuition, the voice of the soul, or we could even say the voice of the higher self. Now, obviously, the more you are listening to your intuition and the more you're observing your ego, the more evolutionary progress you're going to make. It's not about dismissing your ego. It's not about removing your ego right off the bat. It's about observing your ego and understanding that this is a natural part of your human existence. But just because it's a natural part of your human existence does not mean you need to identify with it. It does not mean that it is you inherently. It is more a part of you than it actually is you. Because as I said from the beginning, you are the soul and the spirit that chose to come into a body that has an ego. So once you understand that consciousness, then you can start observing your thoughts, you can start observing your ego, and then making intuitive decisions on which thoughts you're going to use to your benefit and which thoughts you're going to simply just let go of because maybe they're not serving you. All right. And the more you do that, the more you achieve that state, the more you're going to make evolutionary progress. You're going to travel through the initiatory structures of the tree of life that exists within all of us and around our planetary sphere. which is going to get you to a point where you get closer and closer and closer to your soul as time goes on, as you're in that state of mind or in that state of being, so to speak. All right. So that's really what I wanted to cover in this video. All right. So this is information that you're probably not really going to hear many other places. Okay. I think I covered enough in this video. All right. So if this is information that you feel like you gain value from, definitely come down here, hit the thumbs up button. Also, come down here and hit the notification bell because I post videos as often as I can and clearly. With content like this, you absolutely do not want to be missing out. Now come down here and subscribe, because if you're not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, then you're making a big mistake, because by subscribing, you're further linking in to what it is that I'm teaching. There's a psychic principle behind that. So if you want more value, subscribe. If not, forget about it. Now, you have my full permission to copy and paste this link and send it out to anybody, family, friends, social media platforms, you name it. You have my permission. My intention is to spread this content like a wildfire and to increase my empire in the process. And that is exactly what I've been doing, and that's exactly what's been taking place. So let's continue to do that. All right. Now also, I want to take your awareness to literally the most important link within the entirety of the YouTube description itself. This is going to be the Patreon. You can't miss it. It's the top link, very first link at the top. On my Patreon, I have an entire vault of exclusive occult content. None of this content is on my public YouTube channel, and that is for many intentional reasons. It's not meant for the public, okay? I have, at this point, over 200 videos. It's literally like a secondary YouTube channel, all right? Except everything on there is more advanced and more personal than what you're getting on my public channel. Now, when you go to tier 2, you're gaining access to an entire magic training course, which I feel like would be extremely valuable, especially if you're a beginner occultist and you're looking for a structured format to follow to start developing your psychic capabilities. Check it out if that's what you're interested in. Then as you move into tier 3, this is not the top tier. This is the most popular tier of the Patreon, and that speaks for itself. This is what's called the Universe.B Vampire Service. So what this is a service that I perform on the 29th of every single month that has one, and is designed to completely change your energetic structure to be more so Universe.B dominant. So what that means is more so negatively polarized, service to self-oriented. What this does is this gives you an ability to exist within the darker energy areas and locations of the multiverse itself without inherently getting harmed by them, but rather developing knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and potential power from them instead. Now, it also gives them an ability to be more so receptive, okay, to their unconscious and their subconscious mind, which is feminine in nature. And it gives these individuals a psychic capability to pull in energy from dark energy and chaos within their environment to transmute into their own power and evolutionary potential. And once again, this is all accessible for the individuals who receive the Universe.B Vampire Service. So if this is something you're interested in, 3rd tier within the Patreon. Check it out. Now, as we move into the top tier of the Patreon, this is tier number 4, you get access to everything from the previous tiers, and then you get some bonus content. The bonus content is mainly an ability to receive psychic predictions on a monthly basis. So I'm going to be pulling a personal tarot card as well as an oracle card from my personally made deck, and I'm going to pull it in the beginning of the new month for every new month based on your zodiac sign, and it's designed to help you navigate the initiatory energies of every single month that we move into. So you know what to expect and you know what you're getting yourself into and how to better approach it. This is for tier number 4 of the Patreon. If that's something you're interested in, check it out. I'm going to wrap that up there. With that being said, I want to give a special shout out to everyone who is a part of the Patreon. I appreciate all of you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking your knowledge, your practices, and your studies to that other side. Big shout out to all of you. All right. Now, as we move into the second link below, you can't miss it. In that second link below, you have an ability to literally book a tarot card reading with me that is unlike any other tarot card reading that you've ever received before, and I can guarantee that. The reason why is because I understand the Kabbalistic tree way more than the average person. And what I can do is I can pinpoint exactly where you are on that tree, tell you what you're feeling, experiencing, and going through in the present moment, and then what to expect moving into your near and your long-term future based on your positioning. All right. I've done well over 1,000 readings. I do a reading every single day. I've received tons of valuable feedback. If this is something you want to take advantage of, definitely do so. Second link is where you can book. Now, as we move into the next service, within that same second link below, you have an option to book a one-on-one call with me. So if you're someone who's been studying, occult literature, or if you've been getting into your own practice, you've been listening to my YouTube channel, and you have questions that you want to get answered, or just hear my perspective on what it is that you're going through, then I would highly recommend booking a one-on-one call with me. Now, I also have mentorship options. I have a 6-week mentorship and I have a 3-month mentorship. This is going to be for individuals that are taking their practice to that next degree. Oftentimes, people that take advantage of the mentorship are individuals getting into initiations. And I sort of act as a guide for them as they're going through their initiatory journey. So if this is something that you're interested in, all these different services are in that same second link below in the YouTube description. Very easy to find. We'll leave it there. Now, as we move into the third link below, you can't miss it in the YouTube description. This is where you can become a YouTube member. As you become a YouTube member, you're getting access to many different types of benefits. But most importantly, you're getting access to the Psychic Warfare emoji program. So what this is a sequence of emojis that I've designed myself that are based on real occult principles. And you can use them in a specific configuration, link in the name of a target, hit enter, and it actually causes a psychic effect to the target of your choice. This is the most simple form of utilizing psychic warfare through the internet platform. And there are well over 2,000 posts of individuals who have already used the service. And there are even people right now in this moment that are taking advantage of it. If this is something that you want to use for yourself, you can definitely do so. You go to that third link below, you click it, join, become a YouTube member, and then you have access. All right. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is where it's coming to its close. All of you are extremely appreciated by myself, and I mean that. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day or night, wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.